Swim skills for minnows, otters, and introductory in order according to the skill sheet. Skill number 1, sit and kick 10 seconds. Sit on step 1 and kick legs in the pool with extended legs. Slight bend in the knees, not bicycle kicks, and have a rhythmic motion. Minnows, otters, and intro kick 10 seconds. Skill number 2, boat dock kicks 10 seconds. With their tummy on step 1, student will kick their legs in a flutter kick like that used for freestyle or front crawl while keeping their chin close to the water. Minnows, otters, and introductory students kick boat dock kicks for 10 seconds. Skill number 3, motor boat 5 feet. The student gets led out into the water by their hands. The student will be mostly horizontal and may even kick their feet. Their head will be above water, but their chin should be close to the water. You can do this using the motorboat rhyme, which is most often the case, but however is not necessary in order to pass this skill. 5 feet is the distance, so it would be like if you're doing a tugboat, except for their faces above the water. They can blow bubbles as well, but not required for passing. Skill number 4, tugboat 5 feet. The student lays face down in the water with their face submerged and is pulled by the instructor using their hands with their arms straight. The student keeps the arms straight, and they may also kick their feet. That is usually done for a distance of 5 feet for the pass off for minnows, otters, and introductory. Skill number 5, speedboat 5 feet. Student kicks legs while holding the kickboard, arms straight, chin touching the water or board, and feet kicking near the surface of the water. Same type of kicks used for freestyle or front crawl. Skill number 6, torpedo swim. The student in a stretch position like Superman with the arms straight out in front, or a streamlined position where the hands are placed one on top of the other, will kick legs only. They don't move their arms. And the pass off for minnows, otters, and introductory is to do this for 5 feet with their face in the water the entire time. Skill number 7, frog kick. The student performs this kick while sitting on the step, but can show the general motion of a frog kick or a kick used for breaststroke, and a type of kick used for elementary backstroke. So their feet will move to a tuck position where their feet tuck in under their knees, and then their knees come apart, their feet move outward toward a straddle position, and then squeeze together in a straight position. So they can, for minnows, otters, and intro, show these 3 positions for their kick while sitting on the step without prompting. In other words, they should be able to do the kick without the instructor telling them each position as they go. That would be a pass-off. They should be able to do that 3 times a day. Skill number 8, windmill arms. The child stands and rotates their arms forward while keeping the arms parallel to the body. Arms alternate up and down in the same way like a freestyle stroke alternates. Their arms are usually in a straighter position though, and don't bend as the student moves them through the windmill arms. It's to overcompensate or overemphasize that the arms can stretch while swimming and also alternate smoothly. Skill number 9, assisted swim with the face in. The student is supported or held by the coach with their face in the water and can show alternating arms and flutter kicks as if they were swimming a front crawl, although not form required for the 5 feet would be the pass off for minnows, otters, and introductory. Skill number 13, underwater arms. While sitting on step 1 or kneeling on step 2, the student can show the underwater arms. So the underwater arms are a motion similar but not exactly the same as a breaststroke, where their hands will come together near their sternum, and we call that position generally squirrel, and then their arms shoot out in front away from their body forward, call that the rocket position, and then their hands turn outward and push the water sideways. We call that the bird position. So the underwater arms repeat those three positions: squirrel, rocket, bird. They should be able to do that 3 times without prompting in order to pass the underwater arms, skill number 13, Minnows, Otters, and Introductory. Skill number 14, bubble breath. They should be able to do 3 times, make bubbles in the water by humming, blubbering, or blowing into the water with the mouth submerged. For instance, making a sound like brrr, brrr. They can also do it with their whole face submerged and still pass the skill for bubble breath. Skill number 15, voluntary face dip, no goggles. 2 of the key words here are voluntary and no goggles. So the student should be able to put their whole face in the water on purpose at least 3 times during the class without wearing goggles. In other words, if you ask them to put their face in the water and they put their face in the water, that would count. If their face just happens to go in the water because they jumped in the water or off of the raft, or when they're swimming, a wave comes and dips their face in the water, but they don't do it when they're just sitting at the step and do it on purpose, then it wouldn't pass. So it has to be a voluntary, in other words, an intentional face dip, not just incidental to some other activity we're doing. Skill number 16, voluntary head dunk, no goggles. Put their whole head underwater on purpose at least 3 times during the class without goggles. Same thing, voluntary and no goggles are important keywords, but also their entire head. So even if just a portion of their hair is still sticking up, then they're not submerging far enough to pass this skill. It has to be their entire head underwater in order to pass this skill. Skill number 17, hold breath submerged 5 seconds. Hold breath while doing a voluntary face dip or voluntary head dunk for the count of 5 seconds for Minnows, Otters, and Introductory. Skill number 18, diving friends, second step, face in. So the student should be able to retrieve 3 dive toys, one at a time, with their face in the water for each attempt. So if their face goes in the water and they pick up a diving friend and come up, and then they can do that at least 3 times in one class, then they would pass skill number 18, diving friend, second step, face in. It is important to note, though, that if it takes them more than 5 attempts to do 3 successful turns, then that's a ratio that would not pass. So not only does it have to be 3 times within one class time, but also 3 out of 5 attempts at accomplishing the skill. Skill number 19, 3 diving friends, third step, face in. It is same as described for step 2, where they would retrieve one at a time. 3 diving friends, in other words, they can do 3 out of 5 attempts and pick up the diving friends from step 3. That's the definition of the skill, is that they can reach down underwater and get the toy from step 3. They can use a variety of techniques to accomplish this. If they just hop and then duck underwater and grab it like they're just ducking down and picking it up, that's fine. If they can sort of bend over and pick it up, that's fine. If they have to sort of dive down, put their head down and stick their feet up, that also is another technique that's possible to use for skill number 19, diving friends, third step, facing. Skill number 20, dolphin dive. That the student is able, under their own power, without help, to swim under the limbo bar with the bar set at the water surface. So the limbo bar is at the water surface level, and the student, under their own power, can make it from the third step under the bar and to the teacher without touching the bar or requiring help to make the distance. No specific type of swim stroke is required for minnows, otters, or intro. It's just as long as the student can make it under the bar to the other side under their own power. Skill number 21, swim lounge. A student sits in the coach's arms facing outward and lay back against the coach's shoulder. So their head lays on the shoulder or the coach while they're in the pool. The student may use the parent's or coach's shoulder as a pillow. So the student is basically in a reclining position in the water. It's a progressive stroke to help them learn backstroke. And if this is, by definition, it is still a swim lounge as long as the student's ears are not touching the water. So once the student's ears go in the water, then it is becomes a full assist float because they're more in a float position. And you can't pass it as a type of a float unless their ears are in the water, so it's always considered a swim lounge as long as their ears are not fully in the water. Skill number 22, full assist float. The student's laying on their back in the water with full support. The student's ears must be submerged in order to consider it a full assist float. The student should be able to hold that position in a still position without wiggling and otherwise trying to change their position. They should be laying still for a count of 5 counts in order to pass full assist float. A head assist float is where the student is basically floating on their own but doesn't have the confidence to do it without still being in physical contact with the coach. In other words, you're not really providing much actual assistance for the skill. In fact, it may be dangerous to assist a student by using their head, so I'm not recommending that you actually hold them in a float position by their head, but instead remain in contact with the student while they're floating by lending that teeny tiny bit of assistance with your hand underneath their head. Again, it's 5 counts for a full assist float. In order to pass the skill, they should be in a correct floating position. Skill number 24, unassisted back float. Float on back unassisted, head tilted back so that the water line is level with the student's hair on their forehead. The student's chin should be pointed to the sky, basically, not overly arching their neck, but basically head in neutral or slightly arched backwards. Arms in a T position or stretched outward can also be moved closer to the ears. Especially if the student is not very buoyant, they may have to move their arms up toward their ears. Their arms should be submerged completely. Their legs are relaxed and may even be slightly bent toward the bottom of the pool. And the student should have a slight arch in the back, overemphasizing slight, and lift the hips and belly slightly. Majority of the body between the hips and the head are going to be in a mostly neutral but slightly backward arching position. This will provide the student the best position to float in a mostly level position. Skill number 25, otter kicks 5 feet. While the student is laying on their back in a floating tight position, they're going to hold a flotation device, usually a kickboard, but it can be done with a ball or a noodle, and they kick their legs like they would for backstroke. They can, under their own propulsion, move 5 feet. That is the pass off for Minnows, Otters, and Introductory for otter kicks 5 feet, skill number 25. Skill number 26, frost the cake. The student moves their arms in a motion that's used for treading water, particularly with the arms extended out to the sides. They're going to move forward and backward in a forward and backward motion while forming blades with the hands and turning them to provide lift. The palms should always be facing slightly downward on both the forward and backward motions. I tend to show them thumbs up for the movement forward and thumbs down for the movement backward. Frost the cake. Skill number 27, drop into the pool from the raft.
Okay, here we go, Eleanor.
The student is able from a sitting position or standing position to drop into the pool unassisted by the coach. After the student drops in the pool, the instructor will help the student surface. So they shouldn't be sliding into the pool or anything of that nature. It should be a drop into the pool where the student fully submerges underwater, whether from a sit or a jump. That would pass drop into the pool from the raft. Skill number 27. Skill number 28, wall crawl. They're going to hang on to the side of the pool and scoot sideways, usually keeping their feet in contact with the side of the wall of the pool. And also they can hold on to the coping stone, which is the top edge of the pool, or the rail, the handrail that goes around the water line of the pool, around the perimeter. Wall crawl. VGBA stands for Virginia Graham Baker Act, and it is a law that is put into place requiring pools and other pool fixtures to prevent entrapment. But what the students need to know is not anything about the law, but they need to know how to identify the pool inlets and drains. They need to also know not to play with, on, or around those pool fixtures.
1, 2, 3.
It's different if they're water features constructed specifically for play, like a splash pad or something like that at the park, but for a pool, they shouldn't be putting their hands or feet in any of the drains or inlets or outlets of the pool, or be trying to block any of those pool fixtures. And that brings us to skill number 30, identify pool exits. A student should be able to identify where the exits of a pool are. They should be able to tell you that a handrail marks where the exits are in a pool, like ladders and steps, so that a student knows where they can safely exit a pool. Skill number 31, knows pool safety rules. Students in Minnows and Otters especially may require some prompting. For instance, if you say who has to be in the pool with you and the student answers the teacher, etc., like the teacher, or who do you have to listen to, they say the teacher, or where do you wait for your turn on step 1, that would pass as knowing the pool safety rules. As the students get older, it's reasonable to expect your introductory level students to be able to memorize the rules and be able to recite them for you. The 5 pool safety rules we want them to know are the ones posted in the pool room on the pool safety rules sign. And they are, in order, number 1, you can only be in the pool if a coach is in the pool with you. Number 2, listen to the coach and follow directions. Rule number 3, stay on step 1 while you are waiting for your turn. Rule number 4, walk while you are on deck. No running, skipping, hopping, jumping, chassing, or galloping. And rule number 5, be nice to each other during swim lessons. Those are the 5 pool safety rules that a student should know. Skill number 32 follows directions. A student should be compliant as a student and not need a large amount of reminders for staying on step 1. They should be also respectful of the other students in class. They should be ready and willing to take turns. Those are all indicators that a student is able to follow directions and pass skill number 32.